I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is
I Will Make You a Millionaire, another episode helping someone reach their goal of making millions. So, Paolo, how has this past week or so been? What have you been up to?
Things are being pretty good. So overall in London, things are open now. The weather has been good, strangely enough. So it's been good to go out.
How's your creativity doing? Are you thinking about anything new? Have you started brainstorming on new stuff potentially?
What I've been doing a lot is actually doing a lot of small steps to kind of complete the app I'm working on. So I kind of realized that getting, let's say, 90% of the way there is a lot, but the last 10% is a whole lot as well. That you kind of think, oh yeah, I'm almost done, but there are so many small details that need to be thought of to get it to 100%. And I've been spending a lot of time doing those, at least starting, and it's actually interesting to see how many things needs to be done. Oh, so much.
So the basic premise is that people get more Instagram followers if they comment actively on popular Instagram accounts than the people who follow those accounts tend to follow the first commenters on those accounts.
So that is a true statement, right? However, that is not what my kind of strategy is addressed to. Instead of wanting to catch the attention of people on big accounts, the strategy is kind of to get the attention of smaller accounts just by commenting on their posts.
Is there any other criteria, like the account is growing, it's small, but it's growing fast?
It depends, right? Because in the end, what I've realized is that, so it may depend in kind of different communities and how the niches work. But if I look, for example, at the niche of food Instagrammers in London, it's as if at least online, everyone knows each other. So you'd see that if someone posts a picture, then there's going to be the same people that always post on them, right? So it's kind of the more you do it on people, the more you get kind of, let's say, known in the community, and the more people are going to do it for you as well. I've actually started talking with a bunch of people because kind of the next step I have now that I have the beta version almost done is to, give it to a lot of food people so that they can actually try it out and tell me what's to be improved. And it seems like most people spend at least half an hour a day just commenting. And not only that, I've been told that they all wish they didn't have to do it.
And this is the low-hanging fruit version of your app, right? So,
Yep.
so basically, the app will look for accounts you're following, notify you when there's an account that just posted, and then give you a choice of a bunch of comments to make. So you just have to click and you've made a comment.
That's kind of like that, yes.
Does it find the accounts for you that you should follow, or do you put in the accounts that you should follow?
No, it's just used in the kind of your normal feed. I think those things can easily be manipulated in other ways, right? In the sense that if you really wanted people to come up, you can just do it directly on Instagram. You can select to get a notification every time someone posts.
Could you specify, I don't want to comment on these accounts, but I do want to comment on these accounts, or is it comment everywhere?
No, because the way that the app works is that it's a keyboard, which actually it's part of the benefits of it. So it's not a separated app. So you can use it while you're inside of Instagram. You couldn't otherwise do with any other sort of app. They're not two separated entities. Technically they are, right? But you can use it from inside there. So when you're inside of Instagram, instead of just typing whatever comment it is, you just switch to my keyboard, type the name of the food you want to write a comment for, and just pick one out of a big list. As far as I know, it's not possible to interact directly with the app. iOS is much stricter in the way you can interact with other apps as opposed to, for example, Android. Actually, I was going to send you the app, but I've uploaded it a couple days ago and it's still in review. So I can actually use it myself as an internal tester, but not to external testers. But they should be approved I was hoping today, but in the next couple of days. So then I can actually send it to you, can have a look.
So basically, if I get this app, I'm in Instagram, and it'll give me the opportunity to post really quickly on the feed.
Yes.
I see. So I'm scrolling through the feed. If I want to post a comment, it gives me a bunch of choices.
It gives you a lot of comments and you choose, but they're all comments related to you. There's some sort of search field.
And then the idea is you're going to save 80% of the time that it takes to comment.
Yes.
And so when you talk to people about it and they've started using it, have you gotten any testimonials so far?
I've been talking with people asking about what kind of comments are they doing, how much time do they spend, how much do they like it, right? And it really seems that for a lot of people that are trying to grow their account, it's a chore. Commenting is a chore. So if you look, basically here it's different parts of the app, but the kind of use case, it's the third part when it start commenting, right?
Yeah, I see. So I'm reading the tutorial right now. I'm looking at it right now. This looks great. So really, to start commenting, and those comments look great. And it looks like you have enough variety that you could switch around. And so it was very interesting what we found out last time, which is that it's not so much the speed, it's almost how the cursor moves that Instagram's bot recognizer is able to tell whether this is a human or not.
Oh yeah, I even have more information on that because I tried, even more things. I think I hit the strictest test that Instagram can give. I don't know how that was possible. What I was asked, this was insane. I was asked from Instagram, from the app, so not a scam or anything, to record a video of myself, of my face, turning my face left and right and up and down according to their directions so that they could test I was a person.
Wow. So they're really
yeah, they're onto me.
Something's up with this guy. Well, you can help.
Yeah.
Well, the flip side is this is of help to them because they want to stop bots and you're kind of at the cutting edge of what's a bot.
I'm like a security researcher basically, right? Doing them a favor.
Just to be clear, you're releasing the human version where, there's an advanced version that you've been working on where it randomly selects the comments and puts them on the feed as opposed to a human selecting which comment. So when the human selects which comment to put on the Instagram account, it takes 20% of the time to do the comments they would normally do. But of course, if it's completely automated, it could be commenting all day and you could get about, and you've generated, over 10,000 followers very quickly on your food account using this. So let me ask you a question. Could you simulate human cursor movement with the app?
Maybe actually there's a way to do it, but no, I've not done it. It would have been too complicated at the moment.
Any code for iOS or Android, you could specify where you want the cursor to be. And I'm wondering if you could just sort of move it smoothly but randomly around the screen. And then when you're actually putting in the comment, you put it over the text entry box. I just wonder if they'll quote unquote catch you then.
Yeah, I don't know how that would be.
Because I still think like the holy grail of this is to, and again, you know, some would question whether there should be a bot that does this, but I think it's very interesting if you can create a bot that does this.
Oh
And
yeah.
like I agree with you, launch the low hanging fruit, which is the kind of semi automated human version, and get testimonials, get comments, get people using your software and so on. But I still think like the holy grail is to figure out how to beat the bot detector.
Yeah, that definitely is, and for a long time I had it going, right? Like I think I got it going like very well for 4 or 5 months. It was great. Could write maybe, I think I had 400 likes a day, 300 comments a day. I would do nothing. I would literally click a button in the morning, and that was just that.
And how many friends would you get a day?
It depends. It depends. Maybe I'd say around 50. It's also all correlated with how much you interact and stuff like that. But yeah, that was good. On the other hand, now I'm kind of reaping the benefits because now that things have opened up, I still have restaurants asking me to go to eat for free. So that's what I've been doing. So that's been great, even without putting in too much effort at the moment.
Describe the free restaurant thing again.
Oh yeah, so basically the idea is that the Instagram account is large enough, and I post reasonably good pictures that every so often, basically a restaurant would find the account and say they kind of want to some, let's say, advertising, and would ask me, oh, would you like to come have dinner with us? And then you just write a review, and that's it. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Every so often I get either emails or messages from Instagram. It's some restaurant that says, oh, we like your account, we like your photos, would you like to come have a dinner? And then I just do it.
So restaurants actively pursue local food Instagrammers to seek them out?
Yeah.
So you're like a local food Instagrammer in London with over 10,000 followers. And so they seek you out. You didn't initially post on their site or on their Instagram or anything?
No. Most of the time I don't do it. Like sometimes I do it because I tried to. I think I told you that at some point I wrote some code that would scrape all of Deliveroo and find all the restaurants that deliver at my place and just send them messages. But then I did it for fun. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So and that would work very well. But now I'm also keep in mind that my account is fairly small for what it is. But I'm almost already getting more food than I can handle. Like. I wouldn't want to go out and eat every evening, right? But yeah, like a place I went last weekend was some Michelin star Indian restaurant.
That's funny.
They invited me, had the brunch, invited a friend of mine, just took a few pictures, had a good time, and then I come back, edit the pictures. Also, if I figured, so I'm relatively good at photography. I'm no way an expert, but I think I can make food look pretty good. But also I figured out some way to actually be very efficient. Because in the end, I know that what I need out of a dinner is take one good picture. So I just optimize for that. And then I have a few more that are okay, but they don't need to be like extremely good. And then when I get back home, do some editing. If I want, I fire up my kind of text generation thing that writes the review. So I get a lot of inspiration of or let's write things with, in very fancy ways. And then write the review, and that's it.
So I wonder if there's other uses for this. So for instance, can you offer to restaurants an app that will write reviews on all the review sites and space them out and maybe use a VPN to cloak your IP address and use the GPT-3 thing to be constantly coming up with new reviews?
Oh yeah, that would definitely be feasible. Yeah, so, but especially writing the reviews. Like even the model that I have now, which is kind of subpar as is a GPT-2 and not 3, I can write reasonably good reviews, especially, and I mean, you'd have to have, you always need someone to read them over because there's some degree of randomness in what it writes that it could not make it 100% like perfect, but that's a good thing, right? It's as if the model gives you a first draft that you just need to quickly edit.
So let's make a list and let me throw ideas at you, and it could be bad ideas, it could be good ideas, and let's just see what we come up with. This is focusing on the Instagram app, but you've already noticed some success. So first off, you're going to release the low-hanging fruit as much as you can. I would suggest that you try to get testimonials, because that's a good way to sell things, is when it's called social proof, when you have testimonials.
Oh yeah, and actually for this, then I also have a bunch of questions that maybe you could help answer. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to go through the questions first?
Yeah. Ask me the questions now, because it might be related to what we put on the list.
Okay, yeah. So basically, one of the things was this. So getting testimonial is not going to be a big problem, I think, mainly because through the Instagram, I'm already connected with a lot of food Instagrammers that are even like either my size or larger, and it's easy for me to let them try the app, and they should. Assuming they like it, testimonial should be fairly reasonably easy to get there.
The testimonials, obviously, you don't want to use their full name, because they don't want to use their full name, because they don't want Instagram to know they're using this. So you'd have to basically just put the quote as opposed to their name.
I suppose, but I feel the current version of the app is completely legit. Like there's no way of. It's not like you're saying, "Oh, it's a bot. I'm tricking the system." It just lets you write comments quicker, right? I mean, if someone is a purist, they could say, "Oh, yeah, everything right. You should think it yourself." But when a normal comment is "yum," right? What's the difference?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Right?
That's totally true.
And actually, it would be. I feel in some ways much better to get a kind of social proof from someone. Oh, this person has 40K followers, and they tell me they use the app. That's entering the food community, so it's much easier for them for other people to assume it's a good app. And also kind of in the same way I'm asked to review restaurants and stuff like that, I can easily go to the same people that actually will go to me to give me food and tell them, do you want to try the app? If you like it, can you make a story? Can you make a post, right? To promote it to other people.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me other questions.
Okay, and then, so one of the things I've been thinking about is that, so now I have this version, which I should have the beta version basically in a couple of days. So this means that you'll be in a state where I can send you a link and you can just install it. So it's not on the App Store, but you can give it to people as a beta through Apple. Okay, it's just the way beta testing works in the App Store environment.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is I have this version. The version is all it's not perfect, but it gives you a very good understanding of how the app works. So I'll give it to a bunch of people that I know are like writing a lot of comments, and I want to get the feedback, right? So is it good to use? Can they save time? Would they like to use it? But one of the things I'm not sure about is some sort of pricing structure to use for it. The beta version, of course, I'm going to give it for free because I just want feedback for people, right? But in the end, I feel I should try to have to charge something for it. But I'm not sure, and I could see kind of two options. One would be to have kind of the way it's made right now, where there would be, let's say, one small database of comments that is kind of free, and this is so that people could install the app and try it out, right? The thing is that if there's not enough comments, it's not going to be very useful, right? You can try it, see how it is, but then you'd have to, if I want to get comments for 100 foods, you'd have to charge something, right?
So a free trial has two dimensions, you're saying. One is time, like you could have a 2-week free trial. The other is number of food tags that or are accessible to you. So if you want more food tags, that means you can comment on more food posts and your job's easier. So you can unlock more food tags. And so you have a free trial until you do that unlocking.
Yeah, that would be the kind of current idea.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's say I have a food Instagram account and I want more comments on it. Can I pay you to have my account occasionally appear to the user of the product that so they might want to comment on it?
Oh wow, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure if that's possible. I wonder if you could actually have, let's say, an ad in the app, which is a link to their account.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good though. So they're seeing while they're using your app, they're seeing their Instagram feed, right?
Yep.
So I just wonder if you can every now and then stop their feed, but throw up another a promoted Instagram account, and they could comment on that.
That cannot be done. You know why? Simply because I'm not showing the Instagram feed. They're using the Instagram app, and to type, they're using my keyboard. I have control over the keyboard. I don't have control over what they see. Does that make sense? It's as if when you have the iPhone, right, and you're typing something, you could switch keyboard and like change language, or for example, you can just change to the emoji keyboard, right? It's as if you type the button, and instead of switching to the emoji keyboard, you switch to mine.
So if they type hashtag pizza, they see like a bunch of comments, but they have to type that hashtag pizza.
Yes.
If you could take over their screen at some point, like right now you're taking over their keyboard. If at some point in the process, you could also temporarily take over their screen while they're doing this, like every 5 minutes, take over their screen and show them one promoted Instagram account. That might be interesting. I don't know.
Now that you bring it up, I think it may be possible in the sense that I can change how much control I have over the screen. Let's say the Instagram app would still be behind, but I could technically add a link to a post. That's actually an interesting thing in the sense that if the app were to have some a bunch of people using it, then it could actually be worthwhile for someone to want to have their post there.
So like let's look at some examples. So total a free trial that has a time period like a month or 2 weeks or whatever. A lot of software as a service programs do that. Like I believe MailChimp does that. A lot of common software packages do that.
Yep.
A free trial that ends when they've used it a certain amount, or they want to have access to more. That's like newspapers do that. Oh, you've read 3 articles. If you want to see all of our articles, you unlock an account and the free trial ends and you have to pay.
Yep.
Remove ads is like YouTube does this. Okay. And promoted accounts is like Google. Google is free. They make money, all their money on promoted search results. So, and that, by the way, and Google's the most successful company on the planet. So it's just something to think about.
This is actually a very good idea. Yeah, something I definitely didn't even consider. It would, to some extent, it could be some other version of the free version, right? That you're making them pay through this, the inconvenience of the ads.
But like I, for instance, would pay, let's say I had a food account. I would pay you to have my food account featured. And and it could even be like even more like Google. Let's say you're only doing so many per month. It could be a bidding war to which promoted accounts get promoted.
Also, because the kind of comparison would be promoting accounts on Instagram. You can like promote your posts.
Yeah.
But I've done some testing with that and also talked with people. It's basically useless unless you spend a lot of money.
Yeah. I think all of that. I mean, I've tried all of those and nothing really works. So okay. So I'm going to put on our list for today, this idea of the promoted. Again, none of this is for version 0.9 that you're doing now, but it's just to think about. And some of these ideas might be bad, but it's just to think about. So in general, by the way, the question of what to charge, I would not think about that yet. And the reason is it's very easy to overthink something like that before you start the business, but you really have no idea what usage will be like until you've launched and done it and created the next few versions. What you're really doing is you're creating something that a community of people are going to be helped and are going to love. You're not creating something that generates money for you. You're creating something that is useful. And then later on, depending on usage. So you don't have to waste energy thinking about that.
And also, this is also specifically the reason why I created this, right? Because I really saw that there was some sort of necessity for it if I wanted to do it myself.
Right. And those are always the best businesses because we don't really know what your business is yet. Like Google, they thought they were a search engine. It turns out Google is an advertising agency. You don't really know what your business is until your business starts. And then, so, when I ran, in the 90s, I ran a web, I made websites for big companies. But a lot of companies, I mean, there weren't a lot of companies in the space then. I didn't have that much competition, but I had some competition. And at the end of the day, what business was I in? I was in the business of friendship. People at the different companies wanted to be my friend, and that's why they would hire me.
Yeah.
So, it's always an interesting thing. Like when you ask yourself, what's your actual business? All right. So what's your next question?
Yeah, and then kind of still in this type of free models, the other option I was thinking is, should I have make the app basically have just kind of two tiers where I have one very good tier that is, the free tier, but then have a paid tier which is more useful but not necessary. In the sense that the kind of version I was talking about before for free would be something that would be, it showcases the app, but it's not actually useful, right? Whereas it could also make the basically version of the app that is free very useful. So having a few hundred foods. I've tested it out, right? So I know that if I have 100 foods, okay, it's going to be good. Maybe 70 to 80% of the posts you see, it's going to work for.
My suggestion is you go all out and it's free.
Okay.
You go just kill it, and do everything you can to get users. Don't even think about people paying it. Like just get like 1 million users, 100,000 users, however many users is the audience for this.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, once you start to charge, you've just capped your business. Like you've just ended kind of the innovation in the business, because you have a business model now, and it business model wraps itself around the business. So right now I would just go all out getting audience and users, and you're going to figure out more uses. You're going to figure out new things, but you're only going to be able to do that if you have as many users as possible. So right now I would, if you were thinking of two tiers, the most valuable tier should be the only tier.
Okay.
And just for free. Okay. And then like a month later, maybe 2 months later, it's not going to be that hard to switch on payment. But you want to accumulate reviews in the Instagrams, in the Apple Store. There's so many reasons why you want to just kill it free for the first month or two.
Okay.
Now, does that present a problem for you? Like, were you like, oh my gosh, I need to pay my rent next month, and I was going to charge for it this month?
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah. So then I would just go all out, make the best product you can, give it away for free, because again, we don't know what business you're in yet. We think we know, but we don't really know until we do it. And most entrepreneurs miss that opportunity. So like Airbnb, if you had a free room in your house, you could Airbnb it and people would use it. That was their original model. And it's similar to the model they have now. But after a few years, they realized they were much more in the hospitality business than they thought. So they hired a guy from the hotel business who basically made it much more like a hotel experience when you Airbnb. But they had to have like millions of users for them to know that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What else were you thinking about?
Yeah, for this, I'm pretty much at the stage, right? So I'm trying to get things to the app to get completed, which I'm, as close as I can be, because hopefully it's going to be accepted in the next couple of days. And then, sending it out to a bunch of people that I know that actually would normally use it, get their feedback, improve the app. And once it's improved, then actually do the proper release.
Let me ask you some more questions. So can I customize my experience? So you have a couple hundred foods and comments. What if I have a sports Instagram page and I want to customize your app so that it, responds to sports tags? So I could type in #baseball and it gives me a bunch of comments about baseball or whatever.
That would be a next version, right?
Okay.
And my sort of idea for the app is that the very first version that I'm doing right now is food related, simply because that's kind of the position I found myself in, and I wanted to solve a problem, right? But in the same way, I do realize that, it works for food, it's going to work for any other niche, right? Could be sports, could be, gym, could be motivation, could be finance. But so basically at that point,
crypto.
All the steps I would have to take are kind of recreating these databases, right? And instead of having just databases for food, I would have databases, one for food, one for sports, one for crypto, and then different type of users could have it. I was also thinking, should I have it as a single app with a lot of different use cases, or many apps with single use cases? Because I could have the food version of the app, and there could be the fitness version of the app.
Right. And that's a great question. I actually wrote down that question right here. So what I would do first is make different apps. So here's the food app, here's the sports app, here's the finance app, and roll out different apps. And then finally, I would do the customizable app, and that one might be a significant charge or not. We'll see.
Okay.
But at first, I would do it as separate apps, and then you could see the interest that's generated for each category. And then you could, again, depending on usage and how people are using this, and you'll collect a lot of data from the analytics, you'll decide whether you want to have people customize it or just create more apps based on, feedback and stuff like that. And then, of course, you want to make the automated version, see if you could kind of simulate how the cursor moves on the screen, and make it human-like for the automated app. With the iPhone, could an app run in the background?
I don't know.
Okay, so in the worst case, the automated version could be like when I'm sleeping at night, it's just running the whole night.
Yeah, I think it would already have to be like a computer version, not a phone version.
Got it. Yeah, like a Chrome extension or something.
Yeah, because especially Apple, they're trying to clamp down on everyone using resources that they couldn't and can't and stuff like that. So I think it may be complicated.
By the way, on the desktop, you have a lot more control over the cursor with coding than on the phone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you'll definitely be able to do an automated version. If the bot recognition now relies on how the cursor moves, which is a fascinating insight from that you discussed last week, then I think a desktop version you could certainly automate it by, and you could test it out to see if it stops the bot catchers. I bet you that code is not that complicated if you're already at your level of coding.
Yeah, I can definitely look into it.
It would be really interesting if you have an AI version, which is it takes your menu of comments, but uses them as prompts to make new comments. This way, it guarantees that it's new comments every time. And not only that, comments that other people might want to interact with. I bet you will get more friends using the GPT-3 version. So just to describe for anyone listening, GPT-3 is this AI/text database that let's say it has, I don't know how much text it has, but let's say it has all of Wikipedia. And then you throw in a prompt like, dear Sally, I love you. And it fills out the rest of your letter to Sally. And that's one use case. But you can make the AI version where the comments are really fleshed out and unique using something like GPT-3 or some other AI. And I bet you people will get more friends per hour using that on the automated version, or even on the low-hanging fruit version, even on the human version.
Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah. I wonder how complicated it will be to actually query the model in real time, because I know it takes some time to even to the train model to do the completion, right? So if it may take in the order of seconds. So I'm thinking how that would affect the real time use. If it's real time, if it's not real time, it will be less of an issue. The other issue would be how computational and resource expensive is it to actually keep running it. But
yeah, and maybe you don't need GPT-3. Maybe you need some other weaker version because you're in a very domain. So, but my theory is that whether it's the automated version or the human, your issue with the human version is that it might be too slow. I agree, but let's say it's not. Just hypothetically, my theory is that for either version, people will get more followers per hour than when it's just the basic comment. I know for myself, when I engage on other people's Instagram pages, when I have a really well thought out comment that's greater than a paragraph, I get more followers as a result.
Yeah, I would at the same. I mean, I agree, right? And it makes sense. I would say that your use case is very abnormal, right? Because you're a well-known person, people are going to want to listen to you. Most people don't want to listen to a random person, however good their comment is. Which,
Right.
no, I understand that the better it is, the better. But maybe it could be, in my mind, your use case could be a little bit different from a random person. Does that make sense?
Yes, that could be. Although the goal of your audience is to be well known in the food space.
Yeah.
So they're going to become well known the better your app is. If they get 100,000 followers, they're going to be well known, particularly if they're commenting on the same accounts a lot. So they'll be regulars on these accounts. So I wouldn't discount, like, every niche has its famous personalities, and you're basically going to create the famous personalities. So don't underestimate how good your app is going to be towards creating, personalities out there in their specific sub niches.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
It might be interesting for your software to recommend accounts to follow. So if somebody is like looking for all the London food Instagram pages, maybe your software could find new ones that are moving fast, so they're getting popular. People might get tired of commenting on the same ones over and over, and they don't know which ones are the new hot ones that are coming. You could kind of spot the upwardly trending London food Instagrammers quicker than anybody else and kind of get in first position in the commenting. So as their audience grows, they always see you. They always see the user.
Yeah. I mean, I think it will be like kind of a very, very, very different problem, but it's definitely something that could be feasible.
The other thing is, with the automated version, what might be interesting is, if you can create software that evades the bot detectors, that software by itself is useful. So just keeping that in mind, people might be interested in just that software for their own purposes. In fact, that might be the real business. And the other things are, use cases that you show to demonstrate the evade bot detection software that you have, the real business. Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main, that's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional, and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com. You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players, and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply. You know, an interesting use case. Okay, the more professional the user is, the more they need followers and the more they need serious followers. So for instance, if I'm a food blogger or a food Instagrammer and I'm just posting about food, okay, there's no real profession. I mean, there is a profession of photographing food, but it's not that professional. But if I'm a dentist and,
Yep.
or let's say I'm a real estate agent, I really want followers because it's important it'll actually make me serious money for my business. And so you might also want to think of, and this is related again to the pay or not pay, some special versions of the app might be ones that you later on require people to pay, whereas other ones are free. So a real estate person posts about houses, so they could comment on other real estate agents' Instagram accounts and say, "Oh, that's a nice house. Check out this 1,500 square foot studio I just posted that's super cheap," and that's could be a generated comment, and they could get followers that way. So professionals who use this to generate high revenue customers, they would pay maybe $1,000 a month to use this.
Yep, I understand. Yeah, that makes sense.
So let's call it that, like professional users versus influencers.
Yep. And also, yeah, the other kind of application that I thought of, similar to what you're saying, but so I'm sure that, real estate agents would spend a lot of time writing the same text over again. Like, oh, this listing is here. Let's meet at 5. Let's meet at 8. Maybe having even some sort of, could be a negotiation script or something like that. So having that all saved in the database so that basically you just click, oh, this is how I start the conversation, like the negotiation. This is how I start the conversation when I want to sell something. So that someone just clicks a button and so then everything is typed in and they send the message. And then you could even have, oh, the person came in low with the offer, with the response. What is the right thing to answer? You can say, oh, you have the button that says low offer. You click that, you get the response, and then you need to maybe change the how much the house costs or something like that. Kind of automating this kind of repetitive tasks that people need to do.
That's great. And like, depending on who they're following, so who shows up in their feed, like let's say they're following other real estate agents, they might be more likely then to get referrals if these other real estate agents start following them. And referrals is a good way to, again, they can make an extra $1 million a year using your software. So they're going to pay $1,000 a month or perhaps more. We're just thinking of one category, but there's like hundreds of categories like that. Real professional users versus somebody who wants to be like a food influencer.
Yeah.
So, and then we always get to what are other uses of the AI that's completely different. Like I would pay you to create different AI things for me. Like I still want, I want to take GPT-2 or GPT-3, throw in, choose yourself and skip the line. And then I want to interview me on my podcast.
If I manage to get the access now, I think it would be something I can set up.
When you showed me the examples with skip the line, they were very good. Were you using GPT-2?
Yeah. And that was GPT-2 trained on skip the line. And also, I feel, it was not particularly well optimized. I think it could have done a better job, but it was just a test.
So your theory is GPT-3, let's say it's an order of magnitude better. How does it actually work? Let's explain how it works. So what is the original text that it's trained on?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm going to Google that because I want to know.
I think I've looked at some pointers. There's actually a bunch of other models as well that are similar. I think one is called GPT Neo, which is meant to be some sort of open source version, which is smaller because it has less parameters to tune it, but it's trained on more kind of recent text. And GPT-3 supposedly it's trained on slightly older text, but I'm not sure. And then I have to say maybe you can check it.
The versions you sent me, you had put in skip the line, and then you created some writing prompts, and it generated responses that sounded like my writing.
But that is because I trained it on your book, right? So that's why it knew how to emulate you.
Right. So I wonder what's the original text it's trained on, because it has a lot of knowledge too.
Yeah.
Like it started.
Yeah. There's a big data set. Let me check it.
See, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page for GPT-3, and it says Common Crawl, commoncrawl.org. Okay, so basically, it's years and years of just web pages that it's trained on?
Yeah, I think it should be something of that sort.
So like billions of web pages, 7 years of web pages that it's trained on. That's great. So it's good to know that. Okay, so we'll get you GPT-3 access. And then with the API from that, let's create a version of me using some of my books. And I want to interview it on the podcast. And then I think that's potentially either a service that you could do for people, which is creating specific experts that could be interviewed, or custom made AI avatars. I still think that's a really interesting idea for you.
And if I get access to the model, I'll actually look at how it works to train it properly. But I think I could do that. Yeah, I think that would be feasible to get some sort of interview of you with yourself.
Maybe other podcasters want that, or maybe, like we talked about before, maybe I want to feed in Napoleon so I could interview Napoleon on my podcast. I think that would be fascinating. And who knows, there might be other uses for it as well. Maybe we could feed in a book about negotiation, for instance, and it'd be interesting to see what happens practicing negotiating skills with a version that you create that's been fed all these books on negotiation. And then you can license that out.
Yeah.
What other things have you been working on?
I'd say mainly this. I've actually looked into a little bit on the specs you sent for the website.
So almost every single day, this is no exaggeration, I get a message from one or more people, and this is for the past 10 years. Hey, you should make a website where you could keep track of your idea lists. So as many of the listeners know, I like to write 10 ideas a day, and I don't usually keep track of them because it's more like exercising a muscle, and I want to be as creative as possible. So it's like I'm exercising my creativity muscle. But then a lot of people are asking for this, so I know there's a need for it. But also I started thinking, what if I want to follow other people's idea lists? Or what if, let's say someone makes an idea list that I like, I could build on their idea list and make an idea sex list where I combine their ideas with something else. So you could see all these idea lists that are linked together, or you could follow different idea lists. You could have comments and message boards and questions for different idea lists. If I ran an idea list about, here's ideas for Google, and someone else did, then I would get notified, we're using the same tags for your idea list that these other people are using. You might want to take a look at their idea list. Maybe something can happen there. And so I think this is an interesting idea. And that's just the basic description. I sent Paolo a few weeks ago a much more detailed spec of how this works, but it's an interesting kind of social network, sort of like Quora, which is the Q&A site, but a little bit more social networking aspect than Quora.
Especially the part where you kind of recommend people, each other, depending on how similar their ideas are.
Right. And also there's a viral aspect in that, let's say I create an idea list for you and I want you to see it. Well, I could share my idea list with you, but the only way you can see it is if you sign up for the site, which is free. So there's a viral aspect too, that, I want these 20 people. I want everybody. I have ideas of what we should do for Christmas in my family. So I send the idea list to everybody in my family, but they all have to sign up now for the site. And then in my specs to you, I describe what each page looks like, but I also describe what each data object looks like. So here's what an idea list is. Here's what a specific idea is. Here's what a user is, and so on. We haven't spoken since I sent you that list. So what did you think? And again, I have good ideas. I have bad ideas. I don't take anything personally, but I know you have programming skills.
No, I think this overall is great. Very, very interesting. I actually started kind of, studying a little bit on how to build websites in Python. So I think I could even, start trying to make something. It would take a little bit because I've never really built website with Python, right? But it seems I've went through a bunch of courses now, and it seems to be within the scope of what I can do, and it seems somewhat feasible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I guess there's two aspects of the programming. There's the database aspect of how do you keeping track of each user. So a user is basically a set of idea lists and a set of comments that they've made, and maybe and a set of ideas and so on. And an idea list is a list of ideas. An idea is some multimedia or text, and it might have comments or a message board attached to it. So that's like the database. And then there's pages, like here's the home page if you're signed in. Here's the home page if you're not signed in. Here's what a user page looks like. Here's what it looks like when someone else views your user page. Here's what an idea list page looks like. Here's what a message board page looks like. So that's kind of the making website aspect. And of course, a professional designer would do the designs, but the programmer has to kind of create the pages out of the database. And my guess is that's probably not that hard to do. Python's sort of made for that.
Yeah, so I've looked into it. There's kind of ways to build the like website backend that would take into account all the database structure.
Yeah, so no pressure, but if you want to work on this and work on this together, then let's do it. And I think most businesses have basically a technical developer and kind of like the business lead in the business. And both sides get a significant percentage of the business. And so we'll work that out. But if this is something you're interested in, let's do this business together, and it'll I think it'll be successful, or at least it'll be fun because I'll use it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'd be happy to start looking into it. Also, for me, it's I should be able to do everything in Python, so I learned that. So that's also good for me. Sounds and also the overall idea, I think it could go well, especially because it's got all of your kind of cloud behind, right? And people are going to want to like really. I do feel how like the 10 ideas a day is has become something that people are really excited about, right? So.
I mean, it's amazing how many messages I get, even on social media or just to my email. Like, people are assuming I've already done it. Like, please tell me where you store your idea list. I'd love to use that software. So it's something that people are interested in. And maybe, just to kind of play around, a version 1 is just everybody could just keep track of their own idea lists, and there isn't the social networking aspect yet. So maybe that's kind of a version 0.8. And then 0.9 has the basic social networking. And then version 1.0 has, getting notified. Here's accounts that you might be interested in. Here's idea lists I want to share, and the whole sharing mechanism. And maybe there's message boards and comments, and that could be the full blown version. But a lot of people just simply want to keep track of their idea lists and be able to search them as well. Like, oh, I know I once made an idea for flying cars, but I can't find it now. So, just making it searchable is also interesting. And then you can make settings like public or private. So every idea list is, some idea lists might be private, some are public. I know a lot of your bandwidth is being taken up by the Instagram thing, but I do think that it's important to not work on just one thing at a time. It's good to work on many things at the same time, particularly at the stage when nothing is generating money yet. It's good to and you're not being paid to do the Instagram thing, for instance. You want to plant many seeds, because there's the 80-20 rule. You plant lots of seeds, but 20% of the seeds you plant create 80% of the flowers that bloom. So you have to try more than one business idea in order to find businesses that bloom. Everything in life has the 80-20 rule, including the number of businesses you start and the number of businesses that succeed. So it's good to have your irons in more than one fire. I'm mixing a lot of metaphors, but maybe next time we could talk about a real schedule for that and how you want to move forward with that. And that would be fun.
I think that for this, I can definitely start, looking a little bit more into the technical side and see if I can code up some simple first steps.
All right, great. So let's talk in a week or so. And Jay, who's listening to this, he's always silent on these. But Jay, do you think we can introduce Paolo to the person with the GPT-3 access so that he could start playing around with their API? Because I really want also to try this, making an AI avatar that I could interview on my podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I already sent Paolo the Facebook request. So, once he accepted it, I can introduce them in the group. So and then they can just talk with each other. That's going to be interesting because I always want to interview, Genghis Khan, how he conquered the world.
And let me ask you a question, Paolo. Like you last time you mentioned, and you showed us, you gave a demonstration, which we have a video of, and we put the video up. You demonstrated that, or you said you were the Italian Rubik's Cube champion one year, and you broke the record in Italy for the fastest solving a Rubik's Cube. I think you said it took you 12 seconds one time, and you showed us an example. Have you ever had ideas to make puzzles?
Oh, like create puzzles?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Never thought about it.
Because you're obviously interested in puzzles and solving things and so on. I wonder if there's some outgrowth there, or maybe that's an idea list you could create, even if it's just filled with bad ideas. Like what puzzles you would want to create. There's already the 4x4 Rubik's Cube. There's lots of different versions of the Rubik's Cube, but I wonder if there's some other interesting thing.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Definitely never thought about it. Yeah. At the time, I was really into I said, okay, let's do a Rubik's Cube, all versions of the Rubik's Cube. And then what I really got into was the blindfolded one. The blindfolded, I was really into it, simply because I was really interested into the memorization part.
You know what I'm interested in? I've been thinking a lot about memory lately, actually, and I feel like at my age, like over the age of 50, my memory has gone straight down. Like literally, I used to have practically a photographic memory when I was younger, when I was in my late teens, early 20s. And now I don't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning. And so I wonder, it might be an interesting thing to just make a list of, well, actually, can you tell me what are some of the idea techniques you use when obviously you had to remember a lot when you do a blindfold Rubik's Cube?
Do you mean memory techniques?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I can explain you that very well because I spent a lot of time into it.
Tell me.
To the extent that I was almost thinking of going to like competitions. They used to have competitions for that as well, but at the time there were none that were close to where I lived. So I kind of said, okay, I cannot do it. Also because I was fairly young and I would have to travel abroad and whatever. And so the idea is this: memorization for example, doing the Rubik's Cube blindfolded, but think of any sort of like big kind of memorization trick. I wouldn't say they're tricks, but they're specific techniques that you practice at a long time and get good at. I mean, I suppose some people are, gifted with great memory, but none of the people that do these things use just their pure memory. It's all methods where you train a lot and you learn stuff. Okay, so for example, one of the standard things to memorize in competitions are the order of a deck of cards. Okay, so you have a shuffle deck of cards, 52 cards, you need to remember which order they're in. Okay, I think that when I was kind of really into it, I could do it in 2 minutes.
Wow. So how would you do it?
So this is the thing, right? The whole idea behind it is to convert abstract information into something that is very vivid as an image. Okay, so for example, for me, I would have for every card a very clear image, right? And then I would combine all the images together and create a story. And you must have heard of this kind of palace technique or whatever,
right,
where that's exactly that, where people just conjure up in their mind very vivid images, put them in locations, and then you go through the location and remember what was there.
So like, for instance, let's say the first 3 cards are the Jack of Spades, the 9 of Diamonds, the 3 of Hearts. What would you do?
Yeah, so the example was this. Right? So actually, the technique is slightly more complicated because the method I would use is it had some specific name, but I think the idea was that it was a person, action, object method. Okay, so for every card, okay, so 52, I would have one person associated with it, an action associated with it, and an object associated with it. Okay, so for example, I don't know, 9 of clubs could be, my mother. Okay, and then I would have another card, and that could be the Pope. Okay, my God, now I'm really coming off as Italian, but okay, nothing to be embarrassed of. And then let's say I would have the third card would be Michael Jackson. Okay. So now those would be 3 people that I've associated with the cards. Okay. At the same time, I would also have other associations. For each one, there would be an action. So the action could be, one could be, to cook, one could be to fish, and one could be to, drink. Okay. And then for each one of those, I would have an object as well. So let's say I would have a cup, a computer screen, and a banana. Okay. So if I combine 3 of the cards and I take the person for the first, the action for the second, the object for the third, the image that I would have in my mind is my mom is cleaning a computer screen.
Ah,
Right?
I got
And you
it.
see, this is a very clear image that actually encodes 3 cards in a specific order.
So that's interesting. So, and then you would basically, you might not have a story that has all 52 cards, but maybe you have 5 stories that have 10 cards each.
Yeah, so what I would do is then I would have a set of locations, okay, that could be, let's say, all the rooms in my house, okay? And then I would imagine this first image that I said, my mom cleaning a computer screen, that would be right outside the main door of my house, okay? So now when I'm trying to recall, I would think, oh, I'm in front of my house, what's there? There's my mom cleaning a screen. So I would say, oh, ace of spades, jack of clubs, and whatever, right? And I would go through all of the rooms. In each of the rooms, I would have an image, and just by doing that, I could basically recall the whole order. So for 52 cards, there will be 17 rooms, right? Or 17 places and 17 images, which actually is so much easier than thinking the random order of cards.
Yeah, no, that's great. But let me ask you a question. Like, that's really good for memorizing a list of numbers, memorizing a 52 deck of cards. Let's say you're a lawyer and you're trying to remember all the legal precedents, or let's say you're
Okay,
trying.
that's the thing. Sorry, maybe finish.
No, go ahead.
But no, that is actually something that I've given a lot of thought, right? And the conclusion I've come to is this, that these tricks are brilliant. The way you can be so efficient at it is that these tricks are razor focused at one task. They're not
Right.
general purpose techniques. There's these, what I've just mentioned is extremely good to memorize cards and to memorize digits, right? At some point with this, I decided to memorize 1,000 digits of pi. What's the use of that? Just, doing it for the sake of it, right? But it's like useless in itself. So you could think, I tried at some point when I was, studying history to use this kind of sort of same techniques to memorize whatever happened in history. And it was okay. The problem is this, right? That you need a location to store the information. And basically the problem is that if you want to use the same location twice, you have to overwrite it. And once you overwrite, you forget what was before. So at least, I'm not saying it's impossible. I've never really found very good ways to translate these tricks to real world learning. Apart from one thing, for learning languages, there are methods which are very good.
Like what?
Basically, some sort of extension of this technique. So there's a way to learn languages that I've actually used a lot, and it was useful. And the idea is still to kind of convert words into images, okay? But you can do that where the location, instead of being your house, you select a whole city that you're familiar with, okay? So imagine a big city. You're familiar with it, so you know about it. You can think that basically all the objects you could possibly need are somewhere there, right? Of the words you may want to learn. All the actions are there. So the way it works would be this. I would take a word that in some language, and I want to learn it. So I would have a city that I associate that language with, okay? And then I would think, let's say it's the word for, chair in Italian. Chair in Italian is sedia, okay? So I would think, maybe I think of the town I used to live in, Italy. Okay, and I think, where would I imagine a chair would be? Oh, it's the chair I used to sit on in the kitchen where I would eat with my parents, right? So I would have immediately associated the object, right? The image of the chair would be there. So the next step is to take the translation, so let's say sedia in this case, and think of an English word that sounds fairly similar, right? So that it gives me some sort of hook that I think of that and I associate it with the Italian version. So I don't know, what could you think that sounds in English similar to sedia?
You know, when you said it, actually, the first thing I thought of was stadium for some reason.
Oh, you see? Okay. So you see, you could imagine that, right? Imagine that this is even better because stadium is something so large. You could imagine it in your head that on this chair, right on top, there's a stadium.
Yeah. Or a stadium has lots of stedjas.
Oh yeah, that's true as well, right? But the thing is that the hook needs to be the actual object that you want to learn, because I always know where I'll find the chair, but I don't know where I'll find the stadium, right? Because when I'm learning it, I want something that translates to a chair. So I would think, okay, the chair is in my kitchen, right next to the table, and on top of the chair, there's a stadium. Okay, so now if I were trying to recall the word for chair in Italian, I would go through all of this and I would think, oh, stadium is similar to sedia, and that's sedia.
So how would you remember that the stadium is the word you're associated with the chair?
You know, that you'd have to build an image in your head of the stadium being on top of the chair.
I see.
So you want to recall chair, you know where the chair is because it's just the starting point, and then you imagine there the stadium being on top of the chair.
Is
and
that
is
because
enough to give you the trigger for sedia. Even if there's a bit different, this is actually that I went through so many times. They're different, but once you've made the association yourself, it actually comes easy to you because it's just the first thing you thought about.
right? So you put like a little extra, almost love into this connection. Like it's like
Yep.
the connection becomes meaningful as opposed to just memorizing a set of letters.
Yes, like 100%. And that's the thing, right? Yeah. The kind of counter argument to this is that, oh, do I need to go through everything, through all of the story each time I need to say the word? And, yes, but it's going to be just the first few times, right? The first few times you have to do it, and then you'll just learn the word in itself. But just using this trick, like I remember I could be like extremely efficient. I could learn maybe 100 words in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And
Right. So you start doing that a little bit. What's 10 or, so in a day it would be easier to learn a few, like 1,000 words. That would be overkill, right? Because you do it over days. But when you learn 1,000 words in a language, you already can understand a little bit of the basics.
Right. Like that's true. Basically, if you learn between 1,000 and 2,000 words, you probably can go to a country and ungrammatically they'll understand you.
Yeah, you could understand, the basic language, right? A kind of 80-20, probably the kind of what you had in the book 99-1.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yes, that's exactly that.
What do you think? Do you think memory does get decrease as you get older?
I don't know. That seems to be the common knowledge. I feel I'm pretty much the same at the moment, but I'm also fairly young, so I don't know. But of course, it makes sense, right? But I would tell you, if you started practicing these tricks, you could easily do it. Like anyone can do it. It's just a matter of practice, putting in the time.
It's interesting. Like my specific domain that I'm interested in is I could still remember chess games that I played or studied when I was 18 years old. But now if I study a game yesterday, I have a harder time remembering it the next day. So this is more domain. This is a different kind of domain than a list of something. It's more like I'm supposed to learn. There's positions that I want to learn from.
Although I'm actually fairly sure there must be people that have thought of because you could think of learning a chess game as learning the moves, right? The name of the moves.
Right.
You can convert that into some sort of string. I'm sure that there must be people that have thought of ways to memorize those. So that you could learn, the first 20 moves of a bunch of, how to start games or to finish them in a certain position. You could have even, I have, let's say, 10 final positions that I want to learn. And you could have a location for each of them. And in each of them, you put a lot of kind of different stories depending on the moves that you need to do for different strategies.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Like, so each game has certain characteristics. Like maybe the king is castled, or maybe they won by checkmate as opposed to winning by losing on time or whatever. And so maybe I can combine some aspects of the memory palace or city idea with what strategies were used in the game, and that could help me. And knowing which strategies used in the game inform me what moves were probably used, and so then I could kind of
Yes.
piece it together.
In the end, this is a problem of kind of encoding the chess information in a way that you can remember. And I kind of feel that it must have been done before. I
Yeah.
would bet that if you kind of look up memory techniques to remember chess games, like people have done that. I wonder if they would even do it, competitively. I mean,
I
chess
guess that-
people don't need it, but
I guess the surprising thing for me is that it used to be easy and now it's
Mhm.
difficult.
Yeah.
But there was a test done where they took, let's say, grandmasters and masters and amateurs and had
Mhm.
them. You would look at a chess board for 60 seconds and then you'd have to reconstruct it. And
Yeah.
the amateurs were random. The masters could construct, let's say, 60% of the board, and the grandmasters could construct like 90% of the board. And but then if you put the pieces in random order on the board, everybody's equal. So the
Yeah.
grandmasters would say to them, they were sort of, it's called chunks. The grandmaster would say, "Oh, the rook's on an open file, or the king's castled, or there's
Yeah.
opposite colored bishops on this board." And so they would memorize kind of instead of memorizing what pieces are on all 64 squares, they would just memorize themes that are occurring in this position.
Yeah, which kind of goes to confirm that they're not really memorizing everything. They have a way, basically a very good way in their mind to compress the information.
Yeah.
Right? Because information, it's all the same, right? It's actually, what is it? You have 64 squares, and then each one can either have, be empty or have one of the pieces, right? So that's all the possibilities. They're not going to remember that because that's impossible, right? To do that, no, it's not impossible. It's going to be possible. I'm sure there's tricks, but yeah, I suppose that a grandmaster has, a way to take this information, compress it into, 10 concepts, and remember the 10 concepts.
Yeah, like they said, they basically figured out that, I don't know how they came with these numbers, but a grandmaster is aware of 100,000 chunks. A master might be aware of 10,000 chunks, and an amateur is not aware of any chunks at all. So a grandmaster could kind of chunk a position, and every position might have 4 or 5 chunks. So that's why it's easier for the grandmaster to kind of pull those chunks from his memory and reconstruct it. It's interesting. Do you still remember, let's say, the first 50 digits of pi?
No.
How many do you think you could remember?
Maybe, strangely enough, I memorized it in Italian, so it comes off in Italian so much easier, which is 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 9, 2, 6, 5, 5, 8. So, I think I said 12 in Italian, but strangely, it doesn't come off in English.
That's so
you even see
interesting.
it's just the way things are remembered. It's actually the same thing with the Rubik's Cube. So if you gave me a Rubik's Cube and told me to solve it extremely slowly, I'm not able to do it. I need to do it fast.
Right. This is what Daniel Kahneman calls the difference between, I forget the exact words he used, but the difference between fast thinking and slow thinking. So slow thinking actually messes you up because it's removing you from the part of your brain that's uses instincts to the part of the brain that actually has to reason, and then you're messed up.
Oh yeah, like 100%. Like when I do it with, for example, I can do it with one hand, right? But I'm so much slower, not only because I'm using one hand, but because I literally cannot remember what moves to do with one hand because I can only do them with two.
Ah, that's so funny.
It's crazy because if you give me the same position with two hands, I can do it immediately. If you give it with one hand, I don't consciously know what moves I need to do.
That's really funny.
My two hands do it, but with one hand, I have to do like some super, super slow version that I know, but it's just super slow, but it's different.
Right. So you've like chunked the different ways two hands move when solving Rubik's Cube, but not one hand.
Not one hand.
It's fascinating
Or
stuff.
even if I were to tell you which moves to do, I wouldn't be able to. Like I could tell you how to solve it, but not in the same way I do it. Because in the same way I do it, I couldn't tell you the movements. Only my fingers know the movements.
So interesting. All right, so Paolo, let's talk again in a week. I'm very excited to try out your app once it's available. B, get the GPT-3 version of me so I could interview me on a podcast. And C, maybe most importantly for me, I really want to start this idealist social network. So let's talk next week and Jay will help us schedule.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I'll be working on all of this. I think hopefully in a couple of days, I can send you a beta version of the app and you can try it out.
Excellent. All right. Thanks a lot, Paolo. And I will talk to you next week.
Perfect. Have a good day. Thank you.
Your daily dose of gaming just got way more epic with the Snapdragon processor powering the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Snapdragon processors give you the premium mobile experience that triggers your inner champion. Whenever you want, wherever you want. Get ready for edge-of-your-seat performance, advanced customizations, ultra-realistic graphics, and adrenaline-boosting speeds that have the power to move you in more ways than one. Follow us on Instagram at Snapdragon Official.